person who's in your, and we're going to take a lens on it through the life cycle of an employee, starting right in the beginning before the person has even joined your team and you're maybe just prospectively interviewing them. So, from that moment till the person becomes, like many of you probably are, more than 5 years in Britannia, maybe 10 years in Britannia, but what are the phases through which the employee goes through, and therefore, in each phase, what might be the needs of the employee that you as a manager would like to address? So, that's the lens we will be taking today. I'm going to focus on two parts of the life cycle more than others. So, if we just look at how the stages are divided, starting right at the beginning when you're interviewing, you're looking for the candidate, you have a role, you have a position, and possibly what you're thinking is who's the best fit? Who's going to make the cut in this role? What kind of experience do they already have? What kind of attitude do they have? And your quest is to attract the best possible candidate for this particular role. So when you meet a series of people, you are making a choice at stage one. Stage two of the person in Britannia, the new Britannian, is starting from the first day that they are in the organization and lasting till about 3 months. And 3 months just means that by the time they become familiar, by the time they know how things work, by the time they get a sense of the culture, the people, the sensibilities of the organization, that's the stage two, still the first 90 days. Stage three has two phases actually, from 3 months to about 6 months, where the goal setting is done more concretely, where they need to start delivering. Probably they're starting to get feedback on their performance, probably you're appreciating the person a lot more in stage three and helping them to build their roots within the organization. And stage four begins when you see, okay, this person's now settled. They are rooted, they have found their way, they're comfortable navigating whatever challenges that come, new opportunities that come, they've made their connections across the organization, they are comfortable with their stakeholders. So now, once they're a little bit more grounded, how are they going to stay longer in Britannia? What's the future they're looking forward to? After this, what is next? And you will start looking at this person, okay, which direction should I point them in? Should I think about what kind of development strategy, what kind of projects to give this person? So, with each stage, starting from being a seedling to being a mature employee in the organization, what you can do as a manager, that's what we're going to be covering. And the two stages that we're really going to focus on is the stage one and stage four. So, why are we focusing on these two stages? Because stage two, we already covered the goal setting piece quite elaborately in one of the master classes. And stage three, we already covered coaching through one of the master classes. So, I think some of the master classes have already focused on the stage wise specific need. What we're going to focus more on stage one is some tips and some ways in which interviewing can be a little bit better and different. And stage four, the challenge happens when we need to have career conversations. What next? Would you change a department? Do you have the right skill set for the aspirations that you have? So, stage four, we will focus on career conversations. So, these will be the two stages, one and four, where we will put some focus, and let's dive right into it. So, if I was to look at, how does this ladder of success work for the person who's joining your team? You're starting with the interview process, you get a CV, you start with putting up a requisition. Then there's onboarding support, but both by you and your HR partner. The whole team works. Probably you assign a buddy, and some people from your team are also enrolled in making sure that the new person is able to settle in as swiftly as possible. And I'm sure we all remember our first day in one organization or the other. I remember particularly. And I think I already had about 15 years of experience by then. My first day, I spent 3 hours waiting in the meeting room, and everybody who was already an employee would pass me by. It was actually just the lobby, not even a meeting room. And I didn't like that experience. I was already feeling uncomfortable in the first 3 hours of my joining. And I remember that moment. So, part of onboarding is how does one ensure there is warmth, there is welcome, and there is support for the person, a place to sit, someone who's their buddy right in the beginning. As soon as the person is settled, step three starts, maybe within the first 45 to 60 days, where the formal goals are communicated, the resources for getting to those goals are provided. Onboarding support also means the right introductions, taking the person along to some meetings as the manager, making sure that the buddy and this person are working closely together. Only then it makes sense to hand over some goals to them. Feedback and development go hand in hand together. So, in stage four, what are we looking for? That the person not only is emotionally settled, but starts to contribute back to the organization, is able to deliver on the role that we are expecting them to do, is bringing in their knowledge and skills into the role that they are in, giving ideas, giving suggestions, and proactively contributing to the organization. By the time either the half yearly or the annual appraisal is likely to come along, and you will probably have a formal performance evaluation sooner than 6 months of the employee is done in the organization, right? So, the first performance evaluation can also be a very, very critical time because they've hardly had any time to deliver and settle in, and either the half yearly or the annual EBAT is here upon them. And the last stage that you will be partnering with your team on is ensuring that they're doing well, that their career has visibility, and everybody in your team likely has a very different career in mind. Not um, not likely that each person wants the same trajectory for themselves. What we've discovered through interacting with people is most people like a mosaic of experiences. Most people like a few adjacent roles. Most people have a different focus of skill or exposure that they are looking out for. So, we're of course going to focus a lot on the career advancement part of it, and I'm really looking forward to any question answers that you have around career conversations because it's a very rich and important topic for us to get into. So, again, one of my favorite topics is the interview, right? Okay, let me just blank out the slide for a minute and ask. And I know we may not have too many people answering aloud, but how many of us have opened an interview with a question, tell me a little about yourself? And I can pretty much say that most of us, at some point or the other, have asked a candidate, tell me about yourself.
Yes, yeah.
Yes. And instead, I would invite all of us to go in with our own research. Instead of saying, tell me about yourself, go in prepared and maybe use the time differently. Say that I've already read your resume and I noticed that for 6 months you did a very different project. Tell me about that. Which question do you think the person sitting in front of you will be more comfortable answering? Tell me about yourself leaves a lot of open-endedness to the question. And here's a suggestion on how we can get started as managers. First, properly reviewing the CV for the candidate and matching it with the job description that we already have, keeping some questions handy. So suppose you notice, maybe some quantitative numbers have been shared by the candidate. They're very proudly highlighting an assignment. So maybe you would like to ask about that particular assignment where they got some recognition from their previous organization. So tell me about that part. Because the first part needs to be warm It needs to be somewhat comfort building. And between you and the person sitting in front of you, that person has less power than you. That person is more uncomfortable than you. So, you going in prepared, having read about them, making them comfortable by asking them something specific about their resume is likely to build more rapport than a very open ended question like, tell me about yourself. And plus, it doesn't give us enough information either. In the preparation, we're also looking for managers to go in with specific questions about an assignment that they did, a challenge that they faced, how did they overcome it, what happened when things were not going their way in a certain meeting, how did they behave, how many team members have they managed, what is the attrition like in their team, what are the reasons people have attrited from their team. So there are many questions that can form the next 20 to 30 minutes, which we would call the core questions. And I know that in Britannia, the trainings have started on skills of interviewing, which go beyond the general questions but ask questions in the format which is called as behavioral event interviewing, or using a situation, task, etc., star model of analyzing a candidate. Now, probably this will not come as a surprise to you that some candidates have an advantage in an interview. And just in an interview, let's say we took five candidates for one role in your team and we asked you to interview them. Who are you likely to select? The most likely person who's going to be selected is the person whose communication skills are good, the person whose maybe pedigree is quite aspirational, comes from a fancy college, or someone who is very well turned out, sits very nicely in the chair, asks you, "Hi Rajesh, how are you?" You know, when you're asking them how they are, they also ask you in turn. So that confidence, a little bit of swagger. I don't think it'll be a surprise, even in an organization like Britannia, that we have a preference to select in candidates not based on their experience, not based on their ability and capability of the functional role, but on aspects that are more glossy or more glamorous. Unfortunately, what we find is once we select those candidates in, we may not find them the most suitable to the role. So the way of asking questions, and possibly in the learning pages that you have, which Prachi just showed, you would be able to dig deeper and find behavioral event interviewing as a skill that we can develop as managers. The next 5 minutes or so, we could allow the candidate to ask questions about Britannia, talk through what they might want to know about. For example, if I was interviewing with you, I would want to know what are my deliverables going to be? Who all will I be working with? How much responsibility will I have? How much autonomy will I have? What kind of decisions will I be making with you? What kind of decisions can I make on my own? What is the team like? How long have they worked in this function? What are you looking forward to? So, I, as a candidate, may have some questions for you as well. And towards the close of the interview, explaining what would happen next, maybe somebody from HR will, let them know what's the outcome. Maybe you're meeting more people and it's going to take another month and it'll take you a
हम
month to.
मिल के एनालाइजर का कैलिब्रेशन हमारा मंथली बेसिस पे रहता है.
Hello, Rakesh. Yeah. And post the interview, maybe taking a few minutes to think through and work, work your notes in, so that when you meet the next candidate, you actually have some comparison on objective parameters. Prachi, if you're here, can I just check in with you that how much of this are we already doing at Britannia? Or anybody else who would like to pitch in and share?
Yes, so a lot of this is being done currently, Urvashi, not fully, but yeah, a lot of this.
And we've done some BEI trainings, right? Including the situation, task, action, result method of interviewing,
Yes, yes, we have done that in the past.
plus specific questions that a manager does the feedback get collated back to the HR team? Would you know?
This was done some time back. I am currently not aware of it.
Okay, so this is a framework which helps us to be a little bit more objective, to go past the first impressions and look for core, relevant, both attitude, experience, as well as skills. And we want to be not moved by what we can easily be biased by, but dig deeper and ask specific questions. And there are these two methods that we could use to make sure that we are being objective in our evaluations. And some
Did you?
questions,
Hi, Prachi. Hi, Urvashi. So,
hello.
Prachi, when we take interviews, so like say suppose it's for a commercial role or something like that. So, basic test with respect to typing skills, checking the typing skills, and getting that recorded in the system, and some kind of basic Excel skills being tested, and the scores get recorded. That helps in then taking the interview forward. So basically I've conducted the interview, so I do this for my the candidates. So then in that case I have to evaluate the candidate basis the Excel skills, and the so many people come and tell us that they are excellent in Excel.
Okay. But
Once we
then,
recruit them,
okay,
but then the results are different when post
okay.
recruitment. So that is one thing from where we can also add value in
Yeah,
the
and
existing
that's a
candidates.
basic screening, right, Abhijit? That
Yeah.
they need to clear a certain foundation before they join. I think we do this more easily for management trainings, where we actually evaluate very scientifically who we would like to take in.
Also for the sales frontline, there is a assessment that we do that comes as a pre-screening
Right.
round, post which only they get, based on the evaluation that they get interviewed for the process.
Wonderful. And some questions that you're probably keeping in mind, right? Can they do the job? What does this mean? Does this person have the technical skills, the functional skills, the behavioral skills? Because some roles may require a certain kind of resilience. Some roles may need a certain kind of engagement. Some roles may need a little bit more data-based skills, right? Sometimes relocation may be on the cards. So you're also assessing their ability, their capacity to shift if that is needed. Probably another aspect that you're thinking about is cultural fitment, right? Both at the level of the team as well as at the level of the organization. So, will the person I'm hiring, and you're kind of making a map. Okay, I'm going to hire Prachi in, or I'm going to hire Urvashi in. How will Urvashi gel in with the rest of the four people that are working with me? And as you're meeting one person, the next person, the next person, you also have a benchmark in your mind that, okay, I met person A, I met person B. And if I look at all things considered, is this the person who is the best bet for us? And really taking a long-term view about it, that means not only are they the best fit now, but going forward, there is something long-term that is visible about their journey in Britannia. You get the impression, okay, this person can easily last 5 years in Britannia, and this is what their journey might look like. You can even ask the person that, okay, what about this role is exciting for you? What do you know about our organization? What have you read? What have you heard? And it shows their interest, it shows their curiosity, it shows their, going beyond just answering your question and looking forward to connecting with a larger organization. So, what's making them choose this role, your team, your organization, and how might this role factor in their long term career plans? And already, if you see, we're dropping in the first paradigm of career conversations. Even before the person has joined you, you can use this as a frame, as a mindset examination, that is this person thinking for the long term and does it meet their aspirations as well. So checking in with the candidate right before they join also, that are their careers going to be successful here over the longer term. Possibly you're also looking at some temperament fitments. You might be looking at, okay, this is an HR role. You're going to be meeting a lot of people. You're going to need a lot of engagement. Or maybe this is a supply role. You're going to interact with a lot of stakeholders. There's going to be a lot of negotiation. There's going to be a lot of back and forth on pricing, deliveries, timelines. So would this person, be able to have the resilience to go forward with that? Sales can also come with its ups and downs. Maybe for a finance role, you would look for a certain trait like detail orientation. Sometimes the ability to say no. We were coaching a finance leader this morning, and one of the things that they said was that my role is such that I am saying no more than yes. I'm really the guardrails. So if I'm interviewing for a role like that, how is the person's comfort with fitting into that kind of a role? I already mentioned a whole lot of unconscious biases and what we might actually hire on the basis for. These are some of the more obvious ones that I'm calling out. Sometimes gender can be a bias that we carry. Sometimes, oh, but in Britannia we work from 10 a.m. to 7 p.m. Would the person fit into that kind of a culture? I don't think I have to mention Gen Z and all the, how do I say, all the emotions they're evoking in managers these days, to the point that there are now trainings on how we as managers might like to work with the younger generation, the fourth generation that has entered into the workforce. And you'll also hear the parallel that folks who are younger, who are coming in with a little less of the formal authoritarian leadership experience, are very high in their contribution very early on. So they're not worried about, oh, this person is 5 levels senior to me and they have so much experience. So should I say, shouldn't I say? They're quite open about sharing their suggestions, their feedback, their experiences, and it sometimes adds a lot of value back to the organization because you can hear quickly from whatever they are sharing about things that you might not hear very quickly from people who hold back. um, Now, fortunately or unfortunately, unconscious bias exists everywhere, even in an interview process. So if I'm interviewing somebody who's a bit like me, let's say somebody who has a psychology background is coming into HR, I might have a very strong affinity for that kind of a candidate if I'm interviewing that person. If somebody loves Delhi like I do, because that's where I'm from, because we speak the same language, these are all the influencing factors that as managers we might want to look out for, because they'll prevent our objectivity in hiring the best candidate. So I did want to call out unconscious biases, and being aware is the first and only step that we can take for overcoming our biases. Just being aware that all of us do have biases. We have biases of liking, we have biases of similarity, we'll have a bias of recency, that the last candidate that we met, that's the best person. So that could be a bias that we have. We would have bias for communication, etc., etc. So calling out that we're likely to be influenced by a certain kind of person and just being aware of it. Yeah, so that was all about the interviewing part, and I thought we would spend a little extra time on this piece because you are also the brand ambassador of the organization through the interviewing process. While you interview 5 candidates, you're only going to select one. The other 4 are going to talk about their experience during the interview process, and they may or may not get selected, but 4 people will go and talk to 4 organizations that you potentially could have hired from, and they'll say, wow, I had a wonderful experience. I was interviewed by Sumit, and Sumit spoke to me very courteously, asked me questions with so much depth. He'd come prepared into the interview and asked me about my career, asked me about my future. And wow, Britannia seems like a great company. I hope I get another opportunity to work with them. Coming on time, if it's a virtual call, switching on cameras, all part of the hygiene process of creating a brand experience for folks that we are interviewing. So, moving on to the second phase, any quick comments or observations that anyone would like to pitch in before we move on to the onboarding stage of an employee's life cycle? Okay, great. So here you are with a new person, and I hope, unlike me, they have entered the Britannia lobby and they have, within a few minutes, a reasonable amount of time, been taken to their seat to meet their buddy, to meet their manager. What do you think? You can type in the chat box. I have joined. It's my day one. It's 1st of March 2025. You gave me an offer letter. I have joined in. I'm sitting in the reception. I'm sitting in the lobby of Britannia. How long will I wait there? And who will be the first person that I should meet, that I would like to ensure is being met? Quick typing. You called me at 10 o'clock, I'm there at 10 o'clock. Okay, HR, manager, again, HR. Who should be the first person I meet? Reporting boss, okay. Yeah, I guess between HR and the reporting manager, either is fine. But we definitely would like the reporting manager to meet the person within the first day of their joining. Thank you. Thanks everyone for your input over there. Yeah. Within the first day, definitely would like the manager to say hello to them. Do you think the manager can say hello even before the employee joins? Would you pick up the phone 1 week before I am joining and call me as your new team member and say, Urvashi, how are you doing? Welcome to the team. Are you all set to join on the 1st of March? Thumbs up. There are reactions over there, right? All of us have reactions? No, we don't have reactions. Okay. So you can unmute and share. Do you think, would you call? Yes. Okay. Guru says yes. Kumareshan says yes. Right. Tahir, Harihar, yes. Thank you, Mahabir. Wow. So you do actually call, right? And let somebody who's joining in 1 week's time, let them know I'm excited. You're joining 1 week later. Is there anything you want to know? I hope everything is comfortable. It's a few minute call, it doesn't eat into your work day. But picking up the phone even before the person has joined and letting them know we're waiting for you over here, welcome to the organization, is a great way to start the onboarding experience. On the day that the person is joining, hopefully between HR, between the induction team and the manager, the place has been cleared. If they need a laptop, they need a desktop, they need an identity card, those basics are already, started off. Some resources that they might need, where will they have lunch, um, access card, definitely, who's their buddy, what kind of meetings can they attend, maybe shadow some meetings along with you. And within some time, the first 3 months, you're hoping to set some clear goals for your team member. Yeah, Guru, a courtesy call does go a long way in creating a wow factor. Yeah, it's not just hygiene, it really creates a wow factor. So, what are some of the things pre-joining that we'd like you to think about? Before the employee joins, keep them informed, like this wow experience for the person. What is the specific role? What's the designation going to be? Probably you want to ensure that there is clarity on the salary before they have joined, their documentation is complete, etc., etc. And that part of the formalities have been completed, so there are no unanswered questions. Either HR would do it or somebody from your team would do it, but all the necessary information for the person needs to be shared from before they join. When you come at 10 o'clock on March 1st, Urvashi, wait in the lobby. I'll make sure that my HR VP is available to take you for a tour, and then I will meet you at 11 o'clock. Something like that. Preparing for the first day definitely falls as the final overseer. You, as the manager, need to ensure that the jobs have been done, that the workplace has been set up, the laptop, ID card, lunch card, da da da, all of those things. If you're going into R&D, various access codes, etc., are available to the person, and they feel that they are well resourced on the first day that they are beginning their job. Within the first few days, within the first few weeks, employees are likely to be very shaky. It's a very unnerving feeling. Now, I know many of you have been very long in Britannia, so you may have forgotten what that feeling feels like, but some of us may be new. And I know from a few experiences that I've had which didn't go very favorably, that if the initial days are not easy for the person, it is a memory that is carried for a very, very long time. So, talking to the team member, letting them know what will your first day be like, what will your first week be like, I will be taking care, or you have a buddy system, your buddy will be taking care. Your schedule will be light for the first week, but from week 2 and week 3 onwards, we'll start involving you in some deliverables also. And a very important part of the pre-joining phase is to allow the team who they will be working with, means all your other team members, to let them know who is coming. If Urvashi is joining on March 1st, by February 25th at least, the rest of the team need to know that somebody called Urvashi is going to join on March 1st. If I learn one day before that some new person is coming tomorrow, I'll treat that person also, you're that some new person that they told me about yesterday. So enrolling the team and ensuring that they're prepared to receive the next person is also an important part of the pre-joining phase. And what's the general tone of the manager on the first day? Welcoming, being friendly, ensuring that the person feels that they can approach you. When can they reach you? I'm usually open to meetings between 10 o'clock and 12 o'clock. Please walk in anytime. Or you can say, I'm going to be traveling from the second week onwards. Let's catch up within this week so that, I can enroll you on things that I need to. How are you feeling is a great question to ask on day one. Are you excited? How does it look like? What's feeling different to you? If the person has relocated, then you can really have a little bit more discussion on what was the relocation like. And you, as the manager, getting them to meet the rest of the team, making the team environment more inclusive, making sure the buddy is available, taking care, and actually being buddy like is also at the back end the accountability of you as the manager. Is this making sense to everyone?
Yeah.
Yeah, of
Urvashi,
course.
when Prachi, this is Avinash from Barabanki. So basically, when we are onboarding the candidate, the availability of the welcome kit goes a long way. The people join in, but they don't receive the welcome kit in 6 months of their joining also. So that is something which we have to
Okay.
initiate very fast, and we have to
Sure.
ensure that
Yeah.
that's a to-do checklist which we comply. If we don't do that, that consistency doesn't come, and people then compare
Absolutely.
with ITC and other Tata brands, wherein
Mm-hmm.
they join and they get that welcome kit, and they feel they belong there.
Yeah.
This is not happening in our
No, no,
factories, and it is not going to sustain people for very long.
I
Actually,
agree. I'll share this feedback.
Brachi and Urvashi, can I respond to this?
Mm-hmm.
Um, See, one is, as a factory, as a team, we will have to create that environment. Now, it need not be, it's a welcome kit. Typically, I think we have a goodies bag, right? Now, I'm sure every factory is equipped with this. Okay, we have to create that aura around it. It may not be, for example, people get pissed off if they don't get their email IDs after 5 days. These are some of the instances where I've observed where people are struggling actually to find their feet. Getting them help with the IDs, helping them with that welcome kit, whatever. I think these are like, it requires that, I would actually, I believe personally, I have done it as a reporter. If somebody joins my team, I have this habit of doing it. So I think it's about the manager's ownership. I will not actually park it on HR. I will say the reporting manager should own it. Is my personal belief actually. Okay, I don't know. It would have
In
to be
complete
good, but
agreement with you, Sadhguru sir.
this actually helps. You have to be a bit selfish as a manager to get everything organized for your team member.
Yeah,
I think
absolutely.
that's
I
the whole
agree, sir.
concept.
I'm also part of that.
Yeah.
But we
Yeah,
have to ensure that these IDs part and everything. So until unless the
absolutely,
candidate boards, his ID doesn't
absolutely.
get created. So there are certain bottlenecks which we have to overcome as a unit, as a company.
As a unit, as a whatever, it happens in, not that head office will be 100% perfect, right?
Right.
But
And
it
what I'm
happens
going to
it happens
probably,
everywhere. Yeah,
hi folks, I'm going to just probably leave this discussion and very important one, that ultimately you as the manager needs to ensure as the final port that these things are in order and know 1 week before whether they are in order or not. On that day is not the time that me as a manager needs to be worried. I need to be worried 1 week before ki are these things already set up or not? Because if I find out on the day of joining, then it's already too late. So keeping a check and keeping a track and making accountable people accountable. So if it is your HRBP or your other partners, your admin managers, whoever is responsible, but asking this question 1 week earlier will streamline the process for all of us. And just like the first day is so important and the buddy is so important, there are things that we as managers need to constantly provide, not only on the first day, but in the first week, in the first month, in the first 30 days, in the first 60 days, in the first 90 days. Because we really want this person who's come as a seedling, I really like that metaphor, that do they find their roots over here? Do they slowly, grow deeper within the culture of the organization? So your engagement for doing this rootedness is going to be very, very high in the first 3 months. And you might need to spend a disproportionate amount of time having relationship building conversations, structure building conversations, having check-ins, having open-ended conversations to ask, where are you struggling? What does it feel like to you? You're coming in from XYZ organization. How are you settling over here? Have you made some friends? Right. So, I mean, there are three, four things that are written out here, starting with ensuring that the person knows that what are the trainings that they're supposed to do, right? There are some code of business ethics, there are some posh trainings, there are other some mandatory trainings that they need to do. So let them know that you would need to finish these quickly and start on the functional roles as well within the first 3 months. This is how we are going to look at your performance, and I'm going to make sure that the team also calls you into meetings which are relevant. You as the manager will be setting up their meetings to ensure stakeholders are being met, peers are being met. Maybe let them shadow you for a little bit, because the more people we connect with in the company, the more likely we are to stay. And I'm sure all of you know Gallup. The one question on Gallup, which asks the question, I have a best friend at work. Gallup has 12 questions. It's called the Q12 of Gallup. Gallup does surveys like the Dilse survey. And this question says, I have a best friend at work. Having a best friend at work and having connections at work is one of the strongest indicators of the longevity of your team member in the company. So if you want not to be hiring every 1 year, if you want not to constantly be in interviews and you want the person that you hired with a great deal of effort to stick around, then those first 3 months of supporting their routing means also spending disproportionate time to engage them with other stakeholders, introduce them well, send out the emails to let other people know that, okay, Urvashi is joined, she'll be joining this meeting. This is what her role is going to be. Please invite her the next time these meetings are on. If somebody missed inviting me, let them know that no, now Urvashi is joined. So, you call Urvashi, she'll manage this and she'll be there representing on my behalf. So that also letting the person know that how they are doing. Okay, so sometimes you find new people coming and talking in high glory about their previous organization, and that usually doesn't go down very well with team members. So if you notice an odd thing that they're doing, let them know that I heard you say this, and perhaps you may want to tone that down. They may have concerns ki array nobody is listening to me in the meeting. I have such good ideas. I've come from so much exposure. Why aren't they listening to me? What can I do? What is the style of communication at Britannia that's going to likely to be heard, that's going to be likely to be heard? So having this check-in conversation often enough in the first 3 months is again going to be a very, very important part. And most organizations actually have a formal and confidential process on day 30, day 60, and day 90, so that employees' sentiment and rootedness in the organization can be assessed. So if you look at the day 30, day 60, day 90 data, you will know whether this person is feeling comfortable and has settled in or not. Obviously, you as a manager can't do everything alone. You also have a buddy system, and I know many of you already do this buddy system. So follow up with the buddy. That are you taking care of Urvashi? Are you making sure that she's comfortable? How's she doing? What do you think? Is there anything different that we need to do? So the buddy can be your source of information. So your role as a mentor, a guide, helping people with success levers, giving them your insights. You're here for 5 years. You know what kind of emails go down well, when to pick up the phone and talk, when to wait half an hour, 1 hour, then go and make a request, etc. So your experience, and you can directly mentor and tell them, this is the kind of way that we usually work. This is the process. This is how it works. Can you work through with it like this? Yeah. And listening is obviously a very big piece. People coming in with an outside in perspective may have insight, they may have things to share with us that is quite different, that is very new, and it actually may add value. So being open to maybe some criticism, some insights, some reflections that they have about what's new, what's different, what's challenging, what's lovely, and also catching your team member doing things right. In the first few months, what's going to create energy, what's going to create happiness, what's going to create momentum for them is taking a moment and saying, wow, Balaji, I saw you speak so articulately in that meeting, and you made such solid points. I'm so happy to see you contributing in a meeting like that, and doing that to be encouraging. So that's our first 3 months. Lots to be done, right? Are you feeling that, array, I'm only a poor manager, I have so many other things to do, I have functional responsibilities as well? Is it beginning to sound heavy? Okay.
No, I think that is the basic you have talked about. And the first day of experience and then next 3 months is very critical. Okay. And that is how we can gain a lot of confidence in building our company as a brand ambassador. Because we have a lot of policy when we talk about referral system. Now, somebody coming in and has a pleasant memory on the first day and first 3 months, and again you'll see that a lot of changes he brings, a lot of ideas he will share. Okay, and good number of referral reference candidate he will share. So I think this is basic what you're talking, and we should do it.
Yeah.
Somewhere yeah.
Thank you. Yes, and investing early helps us in the longer run because the first impressions are important. The people who are attriting in the first 1 year from our organization made up their mind in the first 3 months. When we see early attrition from our teams, they didn't make up their mind on the 12th month. No, they made up their mind within the first 3 months. Ki, no, I'm not feeling good here, or I'm not liking my role here. So, one of the ways that we can make people comfortable is being very hands on in the first 3 months, right? So, if comfort is the feeling for the first 3 months, the next 3 months are talking about clarity, that what is my deliverable, what am I expected to do I have the opportunity to do what I have always done, is there opportunity for growth? So people, all of us, are excited about what next, what more. If you found the person within the first few months feeling settled, making connections, getting into their roles with their teeth in the next phase, the next 3 months, our role as managers is sometimes to provide an avenue just for something new or different, sometimes a challenge, something which is not within their purview but very different. Start having career conversations already, because probably your EBAT would have already happened. Either the half yearly or the annual EBAT would be within this time frame of the person joining. 3 to 6 months of my joining, you would, like, let's say I join on the 1st of March. When will my first performance review happen? Anybody from HR can answer. In the September October cycle?
Midterm review?
Yeah.
Yeah, it is between October and November we have it.
Yeah,
Midterm
so
review.
6, 7 months later, you will be having some
Yeah.
kind of a feedback, career conversation with me. And what would be the questions you will ask me? You'll want to know, okay, you've been here for 6, 8 months. What are you thinking about? What do you think is next for you in Britannia? What would you like to learn more about? Still collecting feedback, still having two-way conversations with the team member, and also giving your team member maybe the first difficult feedback can happen in this phase. Unless they've really goofed up in the earlier phases, the first difficult feedback needs to be course corrected within this development phase. We had a long session on goal setting. I think even before the development phase begins, smart goal setting would have been done with your team member, where their goals need to be signed off. Certainly within the first 90 days, the sheet needs to be signed by you, by HR, by the person, so that they know what is expected for them in this delivery. Because by the time the final evaluation comes along, you're going to be very strict with their review. You're going to demand clarity of delivery. So, equally incumbent upon us as managers that we set their goal sheet early on with discussion, so that whatever they need to do to deliver, they can do, whether it means learning a new skill, taking on a new responsibility, completing a certain project. The clarity is very important. Offering, I already mentioned, feedback, and taking the time to give feedback early. As and when the event happens, give the feedback, whether it's encouragement and appreciation or it's constructive feedback that I can work upon. So let's say Urvashi has come in with so much enthusiasm, 7 people in a meeting, but only Urvashi seems to be talking 40% of the time. Let me know that Urvashi, in a meeting, others, Britannia is a slightly quieter organization. Maybe you would like to hear other people and speak towards the end of the meeting. I would like you, when I'm joining your team, to give me opportunity to attend trainings like this, to be part of other programs, to know what are the modules that are available for me, what are the conferences that we attend, who's done this role before me. Today I'm in sales, tomorrow I could be in marketing. There are some roles which are overlapping, etc. Yeah, so I could be posted to another geography, and it might be exciting for me to do all of that. And your role, at the development phase, apart from providing clarity, is also to coach, is also to remove obstacles that might be coming in my way. Still being approachable, being open for support. You've just given me the goal sheet. I'm working on delivering. Sometimes I may face challenges with people, sometimes with process, sometimes with pricing. I need your support at that time. And of course, any good work that has been delivered, appreciate for recognizing progress towards the goal sheet. If I have delivered on the goal sheet, I've developed on some of my KRAs, I'm on way to meet my milestones, no matter how small. If you're there to appreciate, it helps me as your new team member to remain engaged along with you. Yeah. So this is the phase of clarity. If the first 3 months are about comfort, the second 3 months are about clarity, about coaching. And I think you all had a lovely session on coaching already. So you know how to work with your teams with a coaching mindset. Like to see some yeses and nos in the chat box. How, sorry, going back. Coaching, how to coach my team members is a skill, right, that we've covered. And this would be the phase to begin applying those skills over here. Lovely. So, encouraging ownership, continuous feedback, strengthening relationships, widening the network, giving visibility, maybe putting some challenges up there. These are all things that are expected from you as the manager, as you are providing clarity. Yeah. And if there is a digression, Google Maps, if you go away from the map that you're supposed to, what does Google Maps say? Make a U-turn, make a U-turn, make a U-turn. So this is the phase in which if your team member needs to make a U-turn, you also need to let them know that, boss, make a U-turn over here. Otherwise, the milestone is not getting hit and you won't hit your endpoint as well. All right. And my favorite part of this whole conversation is this piece on growth, retention, and this is about longer term. Yeah. So this is about understanding what does Urvashi want to do in the long term. I've joined you on the 1st of March. I'll deliver till 31st of March 2026, whatever is in my KRA, because I'm new, I'm still finding my feet, I don't know so many people. But after 31st of March 2026, I would like to see, and even before that actually, that, okay, I want to stay here maybe for the next few years. What's next for me? I feel I'm very good with A, B, and C skills. Or D skill is something that I would like to learn more about. So Rajesh, can you provide me the opportunity to learn a little bit more about D skill? Will you mentor me? Will you give me a challenge which I can read about and learn about? Would you nominate me to attend that conference? Yeah, so the conversation with you as the manager will start changing once your team member has settled into their role and the first year of delivery is over. Now I want to know from you that what's in it for me. And I also want you to view me as a long-term bet in your team, in the organization. And, you have oversight on what does Urvashi do well? What are some of the things that are quite challenging for Urvashi? Where is Urvashi the best resource we have and she's so skilled? And where is Urvashi struggling a little bit and she needs to sharpen herself up over there? Maybe you want to send me, for a couple of modules to do outside. Say, I don't know, where would I go outside? Supply chain. Maybe Prachi is holding some finance for non-finance kind of workshop. So maybe that's a skill that I don't have right now, but I would like to sharpen the saw. maybe the whole function is going for a training, and I'll nominate Urvashi to be part of that and start investing in the capability for the person.
It's got to be there.
Sorry?
Yes, 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 yes.
Okay. So in this phase, what are we looking to do? We're looking for longevity. We're looking for discussions around career. We're looking for thoughtful evaluation, right? You need to tell Urvashi where I am contributing well, where I'm underconfident, or where my skill set is not matching the role that I am doing. So your feedback to me now becomes a little bit tailored to what I want to do. So first you will ask me, what do I want to do over the longer term? What are my areas of interest? What are the skills matching with my areas of interest, and what are the skills not matching with my areas of interest? And then talk about a development plan. And I think you have part of this in your EBAT as well, which is the longer term development piece that talks with the career as the highlight and the ways to reach the long term career as the detail of that conversation. And what we celebrate now and what we appreciate now is hitting milestones on the way. So let's say I was supposed to do this particular course on supply chain or another course on finance for non-finance, and I finished those courses and I submitted a project. So we might, go out for a lunch or go out for a coffee and say, hey, Urvashi, you did this milestone completion. Let's celebrate. You finished 1 year in the team. Or we finished that project which we thought we will not be able to crack and you were able to do it. So, let's celebrate this win. And not just mine, but everybody else is in the team, creating a culture of celebration essentially, acknowledging not just the final outcome, but also the steps along the way. So, what's the hat you're wearing, right? What's the hat you're wearing as your team member becomes more capable, more confident, not just focused on today, but today and beyond. So you are more of an advocate. You will talk about your team members and say, hey, so and so did a good job. I'd given this challenge and they really took this challenge on and delivered far beyond what was expected. So, kind of advocating for team members who have done well, using forums, using stakeholder meetings, using opportunity that you have to talk well about people who are doing well about them. Of course, transparency is something that's always expected. If something's not happening well, or if I have suppose I have an aspiration that I'm going to be the general manager of such and such function within the next 6 months, and you know that I'm not going to hit that milestone. So, how would you, now that's the skill of you as the manager, that how would you break it to me? And sit down with me and say, hey, great aspiration. Let's look at a realistic timeline for you. What are the skills that are required to become a general manager, a band XYZ? Right now, you're in band 4. To move into band 3, then to move into band 2, there are 2, 3 steps that you need to navigate. This is what you would need to do, etc. So, those kind of conversations, they don't have a formula. They are much more open ended. You will need to rely on your wisdom, you will need to rely on your experience. But one thing I can really encourage all of us to do is start having career conversations. Sometimes we shy away from career conversations, believing that it is a very final and binding commitment. What if they ask for something that I cannot give them? And what may surprise many of us is if you asked 5 people in your team that what are you really looking for by being here, let's say over a 5 year leeway, what would you really want? All 5 of your team members are likely to request for very, very different things. And you may not feel that you have to give up something that or give in to something that they're asking for. Rather use that as a dialogue opportunity, rather use it as a conversation starter, so that you can keep it in mind. What's my career aspiration? When you find an opportunity, you will open that out for me. Many managers just shut down this conversation thinking that I will ask for something very, very aspirational, very unrealistic. I may make demands. So we shut down on this conversation completely. What has been found, and this is Deloitte data that I've just highlighted and put over here, that career conversations lead to, and career conversation doesn't mean that you're delivering the moon to your team member. Yeah, career conversation just means having a chat. What would you like to do? And then mapping my skills to what my long-term aspiration is. The Deloitte study shows that there's enhanced engagement if career conversations are frequent, at least 2-3 times a year. What happens is we're able to encourage our conversations to be idea based. What else could you do? What makes you interested in that role? Apart from seniority, what is the delivery that you would like to do? What's exciting for you to be in Pune and not in Bombay? Why are you looking for a new kind of digital exposure? What would you do with that? Why do you want to work with AI? How will you add AI into your role? Those are the kind of ideas that comes up when we are having career conversations. There is definitely retention for employees who know what to expect. And most employees, when they have career conversation, know that they are sharing their hope. Let's say I want to bring in digital tools into learning and development. Now, maybe it requires a very heavy investment and it may not be possible to do in year one. But keeping that idea alive and slowly working towards this keeps me engaged, and I'm likely to stay longer and continue working on my idea until the time that the organization is ready to invest the full amount for digital learning in the workplace. And of course, it's building commitment to the organization, because we are having career discussions for my role in this organization. So I may be disappointed with the timeline, but I also feel heard. I may not like the feedback that you gave me and say, oh, I'm not ready. But I will also appreciate your honesty and say, chalo, somebody told me that I'm not doing so well over here. Maybe it's something I need to work out. Suppose you tell me about my emotional intelligence and you say, no, you have the technical know-how, but you're not engaging with stakeholders the way that I need you to for this role. And let's give it another 2 years and see how you do, or another 6 months and see how you do. And I'll coach you through that process, offering your help when your team member is talking about their career, helping them to develop in gap areas that you see, strengthening the areas that they're already strong in, all ways to push this forward. And if we look in some specificity, what is the way when you're having a career conversation with a longer term employee? And I'm sure many people in your team have been here with you for a long time, right? Many of them have stayed long enough. So, what are some of the ways that you can navigate this conversation? Starting with what's your goal? What are you looking forward to? Do you like technology? Do you like meeting people? Do you like a number driven approach? Do you like working on cost optimization? What is your area of focus that you would like to work with? What are the present skills? Given these present skills, what might be possible options for the person? Could they try this route, that department, that geography? When something opens up and you know that it might fit with what the person's doing, put them on a project like that. And then discussing how that person's going to take in the learning, how they're going to move towards their own goal, how they're going to develop their own skills. That burden is not on you, it's on your team member. Actually taking action is not your responsibility, it is the responsibility of your team member, but you help them to strategize it. And based on the career conversation, based on the aspiration that has been shared, you might like to do regular feedback and check-ins with your team member. Yeah, so this is some more detail about all the 5 steps of having career conversations. I'm going to leave this on there for a moment. And then I'm going to stop sharing. That's all that we had for you, and we'll open up for discussion. Anything, any experiences you would like to share, any thoughts from what we spoke about.
One question I have, Urvashi, is that if after doing most of it, what you told us from the beginning, we come to know that my team member is not going to fit in this role. I made a mistake, or I could not find out during the interview process. It's a no go. How do I deal?
Right.
How do I deal with that situation?
Um, so
But
couple
this
of
chemical
things.
kept
I think,
outside means any problem?
Rakesh, would you be able to mute, please? Rachi, can you mute Rakesh?
Yeah, I did.
Um, Very important question, Indranil, because sometimes, despite all the checks and balances, we might find that the person is not fitting in. Now, sometimes we have a separation conversation and say it's not working out. But before we get to that stage, I'm hoping that we would have had a check in at 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, maybe involved HR where it was needed. The second last resort would be to see, okay, not in my function, not in this team, not in this role. Is there another role which that person might suitably take on? And if after doing all of these checks, we still find that it's not going to work out, and then it's a sad parting. But the sooner it's done, possibly the better it is. And some things to keep in mind, that it's done respectfully, that it's done honorably, and we don't, hurt the confidence of the person over the long term.
Right. Okay.
But very important question, Indranil, and thank you for asking that.
Right. Okay. Thanks.
Um, uh, I would like to know if this connected with you, and maybe which part of the whole employee cycle connected with you. Was it the comfort phase? Was it the clarity phase? Was it the coaching phase? Was it the career phase? We spoke about 4 phases. Yeah, we started with comfort, we went to clarity with the goal setting, then we talked about coaching and coaching for performance. And then we talked about the career conversation phase, which is always ongoing. So, which one would you like to strengthen for yourself as a manager? And happy to have anybody unmute their mic and share, or also in the chat box.
See, I think the whole this 4 phase is important, and it is a chain. And when we are hiring any person, first we are a brand ambassador on the first day. We need to ensure first 3 months how we can emotionally be with him, be mentoring him for his challenges, and then the next 6 months is coaching and how we can groom in the culture of the company. And of course, the last phase is something, how do we retain the talent?
Right.
Okay. Retaining the talent is that the next exercise of again hiring will not happen soon. Okay. And that is how you build up the leadership in the company.
Yeah.
Okay. Looking at his aspiration and his personal challenges at his or her home. Okay. So those things are very important. And that is how we have been not very great in our pay structure, but I must say that Britannia as a company takes care of the other aspects very well. And that is how the bonding and people stay for a long time in Britannia. Okay. And that is good about us. And whether it's a functional team leaders or the HR, we jointly work together, ensuring the comfort of the person and also linking his role to the company organization aim also. All the 3 parameters, golden triangle, what we have it.
Yeah. And I think we also need to leverage the strength that you're calling out, no? That coming home to Britannia is an experience that most of us have already had ourselves. How can we
Yeah,
create that same coming home to Britannia experience for everyone that is in my team and build that very loyal, warm, emotional connection to the company? You know that we've been very long with you guys, and we really see how deeply everybody is connected to the organization. Sometimes I'll be angry with my manager, sometimes I'll be angry with the stakeholders, sometimes I'll not like my appraisal, but the strength of the bond that Britannia per se has with employees is something quite marvelous. So, how do I communicate this back to my
I think this is a great idea, and I think people who have stayed here for more than 5 years, 4 years, and people who have joined recently and doing well, okay, people with 2 years experience also, and people who are there for 15 years, 20 years, I think we need to ask them to share their bonding and how the
story?
journey been so far with Britannia. I think this all will help to create I think it is a kind of a frame of wall, whatever you want to call it. Okay. So that will be a good reflection of being a brand ambassador for the Britannia. And also this shows about how we encourage people to refer our company to others and friends. So that is important. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
That
Yes,
that's a
Prachi,
great idea,
last
in fact,
20 minutes.
Prakash.
Hmm.
So I would request people who have these kind of stories to go to the platform, share, so that everyone else also gets a chance to go through your story, your journey. We have a platform, dedicated platform, where you can actually go and post your stories, share images, or and people can come there, comment, ask questions. It will be a great opportunity for all of us to know that.
Hmm. Yeah. Yes, Kumareshan?
Actually, a lot of companies have what is called as know your leaders or know your, for example, somebody has completed 15 years. Just pick a few of them, ask them to do a podcast, do whatever. It could be 2 to 3 minute capsules available at a click of a button for everybody. I think these are things people are doing it already in many
Yeah.
organizations. I think that's how we create more, what do you call it, excitement about the organization. As Urvashi said, I think the easier part of the 4 cycles is the first 3 cycles. I think that is much easier. Fourth one will require about, it's also about availability. It's also about available roles and stuff like that, which may not be, it's not always a green tick, right? It's the hard part of the subject. But the first three, starting from warming up the employee to engaging with the employee, being, do an amber yourself. Why wait for amber? No, that's the feeling that I have. I think we must do that. It is doable. The fourth one is, yeah, of course, it's not easy. It's tough. It has its own this thing, and there are sometimes it's successful. It's difficult also. Okay, that's my thought, Madhab, if you ask me.
Thank you, Guru. Yes, any last thoughts? How was the session? Did it give us some action points? Did it strengthen something that you're already doing and validate your thoughts? Oh, I must quickly share a story before we close. We had occasion when the new EVP was being launched to meet not only Britannians but also hear the conversations of ex-Britannians, hear the conversation of people who had been very long associated. And I think it was really heartwarming to see that there was a guy sitting in our training room who had already been 25 years in Britannia, and for 50 years his family had been a supplier of, I think they were manufacturing partly some cookies, and the goodwill that the organization has, not just within but also with external stakeholders. I thought I might add that. And yes, last thoughts as we are saying goodbye to each other. Was the session helping us to focus? Did it match
Yeah,
that?
yeah. The session was helping us to focus, and to be very honest, it was not oval Hindi session. It was 1.5 hour, so it is easy to observe things. Okay, so you put up the 4 phases very neatly. Okay, you put up the activities charter where the 4 phases has been done well. So I am sure that people who are there in the VC meeting today, people from the factories, the HR manager from the factory managers, they will all be able to cascade this and ensure that we don't miss a single agenda, because all the phases were important.
So you've given commitment on behalf of everybody. I really would like to hear one more person open their mic apart from Guru and you and say something. Otherwise, we're not ending this meeting. Quickly, guys, open your mic and share something. Say you liked, disliked, disagreed, agreed, anything. Tahir, Krishna, Ranganathan, Smita, anyone, guys? Wow, that is a lot of silence from a lot of folks.
I liked it, Urvashi.
Thank you, Aji. Good to hear. All right. I'm going to wish all of you a lot of luck. And I'm going to wish that through all these 4 stages that we provide comfort, we provide clarity with goal setting, we provide coaching and performance feedback, and we continuously have career conversation, that all these 4 phases are done thoroughly, systematically by all of us throughout the employee's life cycle. Thank you very much for being here, and good evening.
Thank you. Thanks,
Thank you.
Urvashi. Thank you, everyone,
Thank you.
for joining in.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone. Take care.
Thank you,
Yeah.
thank you, thank you.
Signing
Thank you.
off.
Thank you.
Bye bye.